So, folks, there is this thing called Project 2025. It's effectively the Republican plan to take control of the US government, destroy all of the regulations that currently prevent businesses from poisoning your water supply or pumping leaded gasoline into the air or you know, uh, feed your children poison. And the Republicans want to do this because they think all regulation is bad, and also because they want to basically consolidate all governmental power, or as much as possible, into the office of the presidency. We have now covered every single Project 2025 video, with one exception. That's right, folks. We are on the last video of our Project 2025 training playlist. These are all the videos, all 14 hours of content that ProPublica was able to get their hands on that is intended only for internal use. This was never meant to be seen by the likes of you. This was intended to train political appointees, to create an army of highly motivated MAGA folks who could, if Donald Trump were to win the election, instantly be appointed to positions within the U.S. government, and then summarily destroy all regulation that currently exists, or at least the vast majority of it, or any inconvenient regulation that may exist. And if you wonder, well, what effect might that have? Surely you're not exaggerating about like clean air or water. I'm not. I'm not actually exaggerating. In the previous one that we covered, which was an hour long, it was about navigating policymaking, and it featured a former Donald Trump administration official talking about how you need to rip up all leftist regulation and leave none of it alive. And yeah, he cited his crowning achievement, which was circumventing all legal processes and preventing low-income housing from being built in suburban areas, which was a direct reference to when Donald Trump was president. He protected suburban women from low-income housing. And that actually is just a bunch of dog whistles for preventing poor people, predominantly black people, from living next to white women in the suburbs. That was his main point. That was the main. His crowning achievement was literally keeping people out of the suburbs, keeping specifically non-white people out of the suburbs. So that's cool. You know, that tells you exactly where their priorities are as a movement to seize power in the government. And well, we have one left. Let's take a look.
Be there on camera.
Well,
these are the people.
All right. Here we go. Last Project 2025 training video. Let's go. Also, hello, I am the Walrus. Glad you're enjoying your stay here. Let's go. And God Sinner, thank you very much for being a member on the YouTube. Appreciate you a lot. Here we go. Isn't that redlining? It is. Kind of. Except it's, you know, the government doing the redlining, so, you know.
Hey guys, welcome to today's session.
Also, just imagine being a troll coming into chat and telling me I'll never be a woman when I literally, like, look like this.
For the whiskey fund, less than 3.
Like, come on now. Like, are you kidding me? Salty Turtle Cupcake, thank you for the $5 dono. I appreciate it.
building winning coalitions to advance policy. I'm Paul Teller, and this is the lovely and talented Sarah Macon.
Oh, look at that. He's actually being polite and like talking her up. Maybe they will actually teach you how to build a coalition. Something Trump supporters are notably very good at. There's never been any problems building coalitions amongst conservatives.
In the eyes of many
She
in the
looks like
world,
she yells at fast
this
food
every
workers.
4-year ceremony
Damn, that's a filthy read, Fenry.
we accept as
Oh,
normal
God.
is nothing less than a miracle.
In America, we understand that a nation is only living as long as it is striving.
A nation is only alive as long as it is living.
Only a few generations
That's right,
have been
folks.
granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger.
This great nation will endure as it
man.
has endured.
Can I just say one thing? How upset
Great nation
do you
will
think
endure.
Donald Trump is that he can't get his face on Mount Rushmore? Do you think he's tried? Do you think that he's called up like the monument and been like, how do I get my face put on that? I bet he's been trying to do it for years.
As it has endured, will revive.
Or turn back to policies that weakened our
Okay, one thing I did find out though is that the music that backs the intro to Project 2025 videos is actually like DMCA-able. So like if you notice that I'm talking weirdly over it or we're just going to skip through it, that's why. Just throwing it out there. That's why that's happening.
We thought today we'd just kind of go through, as the title implies, how to build coalitions for a purpose. Anyone could just kind of make connections and do nothing with it.
Paul Teller. Let's see. Who is Paul Teller? Paul Teller Trump. Let's see. We always have to start by looking at what kind of a ghoul this person is. Okay. Oh. All right. Glowing resume here. He served under Donald Trump as the special assistant to the president for legislative affairs and was the director of strategic affairs for Vice President Mike Pence. And before that, he was chief of staff for one Ted Cruz. The Hill once described him as Ted Cruz's agitator-in-chief. Okay. Teller was involved in controversy during the 2011 U.S. debt ceiling crisis when, in July 2011, he and his subordinates reportedly emailed several conservative groups to urge the groups to lobby against a plan that put forward by House Speaker John Boehner of Ohio. After the emails were discussed at a Republican conference meeting on July 27, 2011, which Teller attended, members of the conference chanted, "Fire him, fire him." Anonymous Republican staff members criticized Teller for what they described as his aggressive language and willingness to attack Republicans, while other anonymous senior GOP aide argued that coordinating on message and revving up conservative activists is not, in and of itself, a bad thing. While it was reported that members chanted fire him," to Paul Teller during the closed-door meeting, reports later came out showing the situation was embellished and exaggerated by the media, while others claimed it had never happened at all. And then he wound up getting fired 2 years later for undermining Steve Scalise because Teller believed they were not acting out with ideological purity. So basically his big problem was people weren't being conservative enough. That's incredible, dog. All right. So this guy's like actually a whack job. Pixel Smixel, thank you so much for the raid. Welcome. Welcome, Raiders. We're going through the final video of our Project 2025 training series. Come join us. Get certified to overthrow the US government. Because that's what this is all about. Let's do it.
We thought we'd talk to you just about how we've done it, best practices, some experiences that we've had, things like that. Maybe we'll even start with just the basics of, like, what coalitions even means. How do you do that at the beginning of an administration? And then move into some maybe a little more detailed strategies or things that we did that we found that worked, things that didn't work, things along those lines. So again, if you're just coming to Washington, never worked in the White House, or you don't even know what coalitions are, what are they?
Oh man. Okay, we're back to catering to people who just don't have the vocabulary. Oh man. Okay, so we're really at the bottom of the barrel here. Okay, yeah, if you just have never heard the word coalition before, we're here to tell you what a dictionary is.
And where do they even exist in the administration? I mean, how would you start with that?
Yeah, I think the first thing to remember is that somebody elected the president and the vice president.
Sarah Macon. All right, who is this? Sarah Macon. Well, I have a feeling it's not this Sarah Macon. She looks like she died 100 years ago. Okay. Maybe even 200 years ago. Let's see here. I don't know that this is the right Sarah Macon either. Let's see. I'm gonna Trump administration. Ah, okay. She was an aide to Vice President Pence. Ah, and she's a champion of religious freedom. That's cool. She was the Trump administration's internal religious freedom officer. That's dystopian as hell. All right. Oh, an investigation by ProPublica published in November detailed how Pence and his aides, including Macon, had intervened to steer U.S. aid to Christians overseas in ways critics said was inappropriate and counterproductive. Just going to take a quick look at that. Officials at USAID warned that favoring Christian groups in Iraq could be unconstitutional and inflame religious tensions. When one colleague lost her job, they said she had been pensed. Cool. All right.
President. And those are people who have, they care about real issues, and they very well are part of these coalitions, whether it's the pro-life movement, the Second Amendment folks, our First Freedoms, religious liberty, or so there's groups of people that make a real impact, who are vocal and who could be the reason that you win or lose again in the future. And it's really important to remain humble and remember that whenever you're talking about building these coalitions. So the way I always looked at them is that these are average, everyday people who matter and are they're going to be the reason why you win or lose in the future. Making sure that you keep them in the loop is tremendously valuable and important.
Yeah, and if you're, again, just starting, maybe you haven't done anything like this before, but you're interested in people and the connection of people and ideas and all of that, and you're thinking, where do I
Oh man, this guy's right out of the Dave Rubin camp. High-level ideas.
even go to work, in coalitions?
Hey,
The
Danny
good
Boy
news is
DeGray.
There's a lot of places, right, in the administration. Technically, the central place in the White House, Office of Public Liaison. Technically. And I say technically because, yeah, that's the office that's dedicated solely to outreach and to coalition building. But as we found, is you can actually do coalitions in various places around the White House. I actually did it from the Office of Legislative Affairs for my first 3 years under Trump Pence. And then the fourth year was in the office of the Vice President Pence, doing coalitions from there. And
I did it, almost.
Like, when they're talking about coalitions, do they literally just mean like groups of people? Like you just worked with a group of people without like all fighting each other to the death?
A little bit swapped. I did it in my first 3 years in the office of the Vice President, and in my last year at the National Security Council, where I just built different kinds of coalitions or used different kinds of coalitions.
Yeah, exactly. And like there could be other offices that either maybe didn't have coalitions but could have and should have. So I would just say that really any issue that you're interested or a type of work you're interested in doing, there could be a coalitions aspect to that office. And then of course, certainly around the administration, right? Any department, agency either does have an actual coalitions office or probably should, or you can kind of create one, forge one out of whatever your existing job is, which in a way is what I did at Ledger Affairs, you know.
And I think I give a lot of credit to Paul and for sort of expanding the definition of what coalitions is, right? Some people may call it outreach or engagement. At some point, it all kind of means the same thing, right? You're engaging people on the outside of government to influence policy and to help give us also good ideas on what to do. I mean, I'd say
Oh, so really what you mean by build coalitions is talk to lobbyists. You're the go-betweens for the lobbyists. Like, you have lobbyists talk to you, you talk to lobbyists, see what they want, and bring it back to your lawmakers. You're the people that give lawmakers plausible deniability. Gotcha. Yeah, Sarah making some deals in the back room.
90% of the good ideas that we had in the Trump-Pence administration came from people outside of government. They were, they were the ones spearheading these ideas and then
Yeah, she's talking about the Heritage Foundation as well as like industry lobbying groups. She's talking about what I would consider government corruption.
Selling them to us, and then we were able to take them internally. So, the idea of coalitions, development, and outreach and engagement really started in earnest, probably in early 2000s on Capitol Hill, and it's just expanded and grown ever since then. And a lot of that credit goes to Paul Teller.
I don't know
right
about
here.
that, but
yeah,
no,
that's true.
No, but great points, right? Because also like, and if you're deciding, should I go into coalition, should I not? Just ask yourself, do you like kind of that intersection of people and ideas, right? Because if you're just an ideas person, like you're a great bookworm, researcher, policy wonk, fantastic, totally need that. You don't love the external part of it, then maybe not the coalitions thing is not, not right for you. But frankly, the opposite is true too, right? If you just want to go to happy hours and backslap and have fun, also great. But if there's not that connection to policy, if it's not that connection to something meaningful, substantive, action items, things to accomplish, then also maybe not the greatest, thing to go into in the administration.
And we both have a background in policy as well.
Yeah.
So to Paul's point, it's really important to be able to do both, right? Is to meet with these coalitions and be able to translate what it is that they're looking for and what they want into effective policy. So you've got to kind of have that background too.
I love this, Doug. Like, people have to be, the people coming in know so little about what their job is that they have to have it literally spelled out for them.
So, okay, so let's say if, again, the viewer today decides, all right, I'm going into coalitions, I'm doing it, maybe you've even gotten a job and you're trying to think, what do I do on day one? What do we advise on that? Like day one of, 2025 new Republican administration, like what should we say is like a good first thing to do or first few things to do or that kind of thing?
I think it's important to start small and make sure that you don't take on too much all at once, right? Figure out who your key coalition allies are and then make yourself available. Bring them in, right? Don't expect you always go to them. Bring them in. I mean, I think the feedback I got most often was how
Don't expect you always go to them, bring them in. Isn't that you going to them?
grateful people were that we included them and brought them in and listened to them. Just remember that you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and God made that for a reason. We're supposed
I think that this woman is evil. Having grown up around people like this, my immediate impression is that she's evil.
to listen twice as much as we speak. So it's tremendously important when we bring people in, and to do that right away and first thing on your new job, but to listen to them. Let them have the opportunity to talk to you.
No, great point. Fantastic point. In fact, I would say, like, going back to the day one things that you may want to do, bring people in. I mean, if not literally on your first day, at least maybe day one is get your list together. Maybe you've even already done it before you stepped into the office, ideally. If you've done coalitions before or anything like that, bring your existing list. If not...
I mean, true, being evil is a prerequisite to work on Project 2025, but, like, I immediately am repulsed by that line of rhetoric.
Create new lists. And then, yeah, like I said, if not actual day one, day 2, 3, 4, 5, bring people in.
Guys, you guys are commenting like I haven't watched all 14 hours of this so far.
And show them around. Show them the empty offices that haven't even been filled yet. You know, go to lunch in the cafeteria or whatever you could do early on. Bring people in. They so appreciate it, especially if you're at the White House. Really anywhere in the administration. But if you're in the White House, man, what a home court advantage, right? So just bringing people in builds that warmth.
You were so good at that. I wasn't as good at that, and I would watch you. You would bring people in and just tour them around, and I knew you didn't have the time to do it, right? But you were doing it anyway because the value there was just to make people feel like they were being heard and they mattered and they cared. Because again, these are the people that elected the president, and so without them.
That's a really interesting and weird thing to say about the lobbyists and think tanks that you're building coalitions with.
And without their support, you're not going to be there again. But Paul did a really great job of bringing people in and making them feel really welcome. And that's part of your job too, because you are an extension and a reflection of the president.
I'm glad you're really liking the stream.
No question. And you're right. Sometimes it's something small, right? It doesn't have to be like come up with some big fancy event. We'll get to that. We'll build to that stuff. But in the early days when literally there's still boxes around or, people are hanging pictures on the wall, bring some key folks in and show them. Get them that early peek. Let them take pictures that they, of course, then post on social media. It just builds that warmth. And again, ideally in the moment, too, you're also saying, by the way, while I've got you here, what should we be doing on energy policy? Or what executive orders should we be repealing from the previous administration? Things like
It's so blatant. It's like this is the kind of thing where, like, if I had made a video like this and it got leaked out, I'd want to commit seppuku. Like, this is deeply debasing, and like this is everything that is currently broken about US democracy. Like, they're basically just talking about rich donors coming in, or the servants of rich donors coming in and dictating policy to them. Yeah, like, tell us what to do. And then, like, you do the will of your donors. It's shocking how blatant it is.
Like that. So it is substantive too. You're not just showing them boxes and things like that.
You'll probably get to this with another question, but I just want to make sure we don't forget that one of the other things that Paul was really great at was making introductions between coalition folks that he knew and making sure they knew the people in agencies, right? So to your point about energy, there was a coalitions person, there will be, at the Department of Energy. Well, they may not know all of the people Paul knows, right? Or that I know. And so he would always make those connections and relationships so that the coalitions person at the Department of Energy could really be the point person on energy policy stuff, then feed that into the White House, right? And that's how we were able to get so much done and build on it, right? Because one coalitions person can't.
He is charismatic. I will give him that. He actually has like some level of riz that basically every other person in these videos has completely and utterly lacked.
Do it all. You gotta divide.
What is this coalition? They're using the word coalition to talk about working with people who are in like think tanks or lobbying groups. They're using coalitions to talk about like, you know, taking orders from their party's donors, essentially. They're the word coalition to them is just the way that they are able to justify getting government bribes or taking orders from private entities or individuals.
And conquer.
Okay, so how should folks think about using these coalition connections to actually advancing the president's agenda, right? Because you and I could talk with folks till the cows come home, get the bowling alley going.
I am fascinated. I would love to know his reasoning for the mullet. Like, that seems out of character for folks in his particular environment of choice. I am kind of fascinated by how it came to be.
White House mess, have a nice lunch. But wait a minute, what does that actually do?
I think I've got a good example. So President Trump was the first president to ever address
Business in the front, Republican Party in the back. Incredible stuff going on in chat right now. New frontiers of comedy.
the March for Life in person. Yes. And when he decided to do that, we immediately started thinking about the optics of how we were going to make that look when he gave his remarks from the Rose Garden. And there are the traditional people that, of course, we invited to the speech, right? But I was trying to be creative about who we had stand behind him, because I knew that the TV was going to be on him, right? Pointed at him, and there'd be optics of who was going to be behind him. And so reached out to maybe one of these less traditional allies, though definitely an ally, but they are an umbrella organization for pregnancy centers. And we had moms and their babies who've been rescued from abortion by these pregnancy centers.
Just in case you guys forgot, pregnancy centers are fake abortion clinics. They are created to look like abortion clinics, but to trick women who want to get abortions into keeping their babies. Into keeping like the fetus until it's too late to actually go get an abortion. Like that is the goal. That's the goal for abortion centers, or pregnancy centers rather.
Come and stand behind the president. And it was incredible. I mean, people still talk about the optics of that.
100%.
There was like a little boy running up and down the aisle in the Rose Garden. His mom was standing right behind the president. And so that's another good use of these coalition relationships, is when you need to support the president and you need people to physically show up and be there on camera, these are the people you go to.
When you're thinking of who to bring in and when for a certain event, for, again, a coffee, a bowling alley rental, whatever it is, you could look backwards and you can look forwards, meaning like you could think of it as a reward for something that coalition partner did in the past already. Or you could think, this person could use a little extra massaging because we're going to maybe rely on this person for a future battle. Or maybe he or she hasn't done quite all that much to help just yet, but there's a little glimmer of hope there. Let's bring.
You guys heard that, right? How is this not a bigger story? You guys heard that, right? I didn't hallucinate that, right? No, this goes beyond sucking up 101.
Bring that, this person. You could look backwards and you can look forwards, meaning like you could think of it as a reward for something that coalition partner did in the past already. Or you could think, this person could use a little extra massaging because we're going to maybe rely on this person for a future battle. Or maybe he or she hasn't. You could think, this person could use a little extra massaging because we're going to maybe rely on this person for a future battle. Or maybe he or she
could use election massaging? Like, you're just like being blatant about the corruption. You're just saying, yeah, they give us money, so treat them good. They might help us win an election in the future. Yeah, a little extra massaging
He hasn't
for an
maybe,
election. You know how elections always need massaging, right, guys?
did in the past already, or you could think, this person could use a little extra massaging because we're gonna maybe rely on this person for a future battle, or maybe he or she hasn't done quite all that much to help just yet, but there's a little glimmer of hope there. Let's bring that person in, make a prominent,
Again, I feel like everyone involved with Project 2025 should be in jail.
image for that person for he or she to use in his or her own fundraising,
Right.
maybe for
That's
her
right. That's
organization.
Yep.
It all kind of works together that way and things like that. So, don't think it's just about the past. It could also be someone who, hasn't been as much of a partner yet.
Because, I'd be willing to grant that it's election messaging. But that doesn't make sense in context. Because they're talking about election coalition partners. They're talking about the, like the think tanks and the lobbyists. Yeah, no, they're trying so hard not to talk about it as if it is what it is, which is just outright bribery of government officials. But I feel like he just said the quiet part out loud. Like the game's already, you gave up the game, man.
And, do it for the future kind of thing.
And if you're really paying attention to what Paul is saying, none of this is
Hand me the
transactional.
election oil.
And this is a town full of people who are transactional in nature, right? You do something.
Dude.
If you're regularly getting your election massaged, you need to be investigated.
Yeah, no kidding. There's a prostate joke in there somewhere, I'm sure of it. Might have to get a few more election massages to check. Thank you for the 5 gifted tier 1 subs. I appreciate it. Not my best joke effort, I'm sorry. I have been streaming for 6.5 hours. But can we just, Sake Tanuki, thank you for the 5 gifted tier 1 subs. But just real quick here, what?
And this is a town full of people who are transactional in nature, right? You do something for me, I give you something back, and it's strictly just like that, right? It's all business and that's it.
You're talking about buying political favors. Are you kidding me?
This is not like that at all.
Right.
This is relational, right?
Oh, this isn't like that. You're not buying favors, no sir. You're this is relational. They're just friendly gifts between friends. Those friendly gifts that you get where you scratch someone else's back and they, out of the goodness of their heart, scratch yours, but it's not expected. Our government is insane, and lobbying should have been made illegal like the second someone tried to do it the first time.
These are people who you truly need to get to know and build relationships with. I mean, these are people who...
Because otherwise you could go to jail.
Who are some of the closest in our lives to us, right? Yeah. That we still call and count on for stuff outside of work, right?
I hate these people so much. These people embody everything that is corrupt and bad about politics. Yeah, these are the clean the swamp guys. These are the drain the swamp team. Yeah. How is lobbying legal again? Basically, lobbying directly is illegal. However, you can receive certain gifts or campaign contributions or like, you can be taken it. There are certain like loopholes to it that basically in practice make it legal, and it is shady as hell.
They've become our friends and our companions, and that's something to remember too. That
Yeah, also like super PACs are a thing, and money is speech, and you can't control speech, so haha.
you don't ever want this to be transactional. You want it to really be relational.
Great points on making it about relationships, not just, quid pro quo in the moment. Like, of course, everybody helps everybody, that kind of thing, but it's based on sincere, genuine relationships and stuff like that. And here's like,
is it though? Because I feel like you're lying. I feel like you're lying because if you told the truth, you would go to jail.
is how you then leverage that into policy and other accomplishments, other action items. You've built that trust, right? And that allows you to say, hey,
this isn't a quid pro quo. It's a gift, TM. Between friends, TM.
Any chance you could issue a statement in support of the bill that the president is supporting? Any chance you could help block this amendment moving through Congress? Any chance you could...
Fuck off. Are you kidding me? Fuck all the way off. Fuck yourself to the moon and die gasping in its thin atmosphere. Oh my God. I hate this so much. Like, this should just be shown in court and the judge like go, yep, go to jail. Wait, what did he say?
Show help, issue a statement, and that allows you to say, hey, any chance you could issue a statement in support of the bill that the president is supporting? Any chance you could help block this amendment moving through Congress? Any chance you could show up in an event that's helping the president? Any chance you could, whatever it is. You build that trust, and then you're using kind of your outside game, the outside coalition forces, to help your inside game, inside government. So it isn't, again, just for fun. It is for actually advancing, policy goals on the Hill, off the Hill, in the...
Oh, so it's not friendship. It is a work thing. So it is a quid pro quo, because it kind of seems like that's what you're describing.
States, wherever,
And so many times our colleagues would come to us and say like, well, we want to do X, Y, and Z, but who's gonna come support us when we do it, right? And Paul and I and others who were coalitions folks, we were able to bring those lists and be able to say, if you go out and do this and you put your name on the line for this, here are the folks who are going to show up and support you.
These are the people who build the plausible deniability of like government officials being paid off so that like, those government officials don't go to prison. These are the people who facilitate the corruption in our U.S. government.
Yeah, and if you've built these relationships in advance, built the trust that we've been talking about, and also you could get it done fast, right? Because let's face it, not everything is something you could plan for weeks in advance. Sarah is especially known for like the overnight planning of massive events where at 7 p.m. it's like, yes, Sarah, 9 a.m. tomorrow we need 50 people on the White House lawn. Oh, really?
Got it.
Fantastic. Okay. You can't do that unless you have the pre-existing relationship, pre-existing trust, and you've already
big
been
dick
working
motherfucker,
together. So
no worries,
that even
no
goes
rush.
back to your day one action.
You're more than welcome.
Who are
here.
you building trust with right off the bat, so that when you actually really have an ask and it's urgent, oh my God, I'm so sorry, it's time sensitive. Right. Can you show up at the White House tomorrow with almost no notice? And by the way, say these 3 talking points.
Right.
It's because you've built those trusts from day one, right from the beginning and stuff like that.
And remember, not everything happens in DC either. Sometimes often there were times we were on the road and we had to throw together an event and we needed people there. And we needed people there to say certain things and do certain things. And so remember to keep your coalitions outside of DC.
Man, it's so wild to hear like such vague language that is very clearly hiding some shit, TM.
As well, right? So state networks are tremendously important, and then just individual contacts on the ground in the states you're going to be going to, and just all over, right? They may not get utilized as often, but they're just as important.
That's like an epic point, right? We
Yeah.
definitely should like
Yeah.
stay on that for a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Because again, especially if you're in the White House, but this is true for agencies, cabinet secretaries travel as well. But very often, Sarah or I would get notice like with a day and a half in advance, oh, the vice president or the president is going to Wisconsin, is going to tour this factory. And by the way, would be great to have some workers in hard hats standing behind and meeting with sheriffs after. Okay, how are we going to do that? You know, so it's not to say that you have to know the sheriffs and, you know, the construction workers, whatever. Do you know the people who know those folks, right? And it's the state coalitions, or a lot of times even the national DC groups and leaders have state affiliates and branches that you could say, hey, I'm calling you here in Washington, DC, but can you call your Wisconsin branch really quick and help me get these folks out and that kind of thing. And for feedback too, like you were saying, more listening.
I need to fabricate a crowd for an event. Can you please force all your employees in Wisconsin to come to this thing?
And talking. So sometimes you say, you know, who do you think we should have at this event in Wisconsin? We don't have a fixed idea. Who would be best to have? Who would be good to help? Who would be good to work with? So again, all of these things being planned in advance.
In a perfect world, but very often it was, hey, we're going in a day or two. What can you put together?
On a second.
His charisma just seems like enthusiasm about pure evil. Yeah, that's where both of their smiles come from. From the tiny infernal engines that power their bodies.
Okay, so how about best practices? What do you think are some pieces of advice we should give for folks who...
Honestly, if the next time I play a devil character, I run a devil character in a D&D game, I'm gonna remember this guy. Because he's absolutely perfect for one. Like, this is the kind of guy who, like, you know, you're in a time of crisis and you're like, oh man, I'd sell my soul for solution to insert crisis here. And then he like walks out and he's just like, why, hello, I would like to buy your soul, please. Why, this is such a great deal for both you and me. I get a soul, you get a solution to your problem. Ha ha. Like just a affable asshole. Now, of course, you'll be subject to suffering and torment for all eternity, but you know, that's really an opportunity for you to grow character. You know, pain and suffering, that is character, and you will have it coming out of your ears. You don't want me to define what it is. But that's only if you break the contract, friend.
You know, again, are jumping into coalitions. And, you know, could use a little advice from the pro of how, how to get it best done.
You know, maybe it's just because of the station I am in my life now, but I'm thinking to myself, like, you got to give it everything, right? It's a 24/7, 7-day-a-week kind of thing. You got to eat, sleep, and dream about it, right?
And we're going to pay you minimum wage to do it.
There'll be time in another time in your life to do the other stuff, right? But when you've got this opportunity to be impactful and influential like this and to really help the president and the whole...
So many of these videos really emphasize that you are expected to work 24/7 for next to no money for the glory of the administration.
Team, you just got to give it your all, right? And so late nights, you know, lots of emails, lots of creative thought. You know, not all of it has to be done from your desk, right? Yeah. You could go home, but keep working, right? And make sure that those events for the next day or 2 days later are planned and you've got the right people there. But you gotta really commit and give it your all.
Yeah, no question. I think what we also got good at was creating lists. Lots of lists, right?
Yes.
Think of lists for every possible thing. Things you may never need, make the list because you will need.
Lists of enemies. Lists of people that you are just very good friends with and the things they've done for you and the things you need to do for them. You know, just lots of lists.
Need it.
Yep.
Divide it up in every possible
lists.
way or do it on an Excel grid or some way that it's sortable, divisible in different ways you couldn't have even anticipated, but just have all kinds of lists. And that's not only good for inbound stuff, if you need people to come in and help, but if you're just pushing something out. The president issued an executive order today on XYZ. who should hear about it? Well, these particular groups would be most interested in hearing about it, maybe amplifying it, otherwise taking an action. If you have the list already set, you don't have to build it. You don't have to think, who do I need to send this to? You just, oh, it's going to my, energy producers in the Mountain West list.
Right, that's specific.
Yeah,
You want to get that specific about it.
I mean,
and
it's crazy.
You can ask anybody. Paul Tyler is the king of this, right? And you can't just like create that out of thin air. So
yeah, build it as you go. Right?
Build it as you go. Find a system, but make sure your system works and that you can, sort it, because that's going to be key.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I to this day, I do that. If I get, you meet someone at a conference, get a business card, go back and put that person on as many relevant lists as possible. Like, let's see, she's a female activist, she's a youth activist, also works in energy and healthcare, and used to be a state legislator. Well,
She works in energy and healthcare? Who is this, Barbie? Like, what? Is she a surgeon and an astrophysicist who's traveling in the NASA program to Mars? Like, what?
Get her on all those lists, because you never know which one you'll need when and in a moment's notice, that kind of thing. Okay, so what are some other best practices that we could tell these good folks who are watching our video today? Things that bring people in, make them feel involved, especially like between action items. In other words, obviously.
They really thought they were going to win, didn't they? Yeah, they've recruited thousands of people to this program specifically to put them in power so that day one, like, they just get inserted into the top of our administrative state and get to gut all of the regulation and facilitate, I guess, as much corruption as humanly possible, or, as the case might be, demonically possible.
Like you said, when you're inviting someone to stand at an event or bringing them in for a round table or something, great. But what happens when it's just a quiet day where I don't have a specific ask? Is there still something we could be doing, or you did?
And I know these aren't the most interesting things around. Like, I know that they're not particularly engaging content for you guys to watch, but like, I do think that this is really important. I think that, like, being aware that this is the actual machinery that they would use to strip you of every protection you've ever enjoyed in your life. Do you like not having to worry about lead in your water? Do you like not having to worry about, the soil being poisoned below your feet? Do you like being able to, not die from asbestos? Do you like that? This Project 2025 is a liberty project? No, it's run by the Heritage Foundation. This is not Trumpian? Yeah, it's not. That's because it was put together by the Heritage Foundation, as well as every other think tank in Washington, D.C. Every conservative think tank has focused and combined their efforts to build this particular plan as a vehicle for Donald Trump to appoint thousands of people if he wins this election. This is in a sense, it's not Trumpian because a bunch of people ostensibly competent put this together and it would actually function and work, unlike a Trump plan. So, this is a Trump fan club? No, this is the plan that Donald Trump is going to adopt if he gets into office.
That kind of thing.
I think you and I both published, whether it was a weekly email or I don't know how frequently we did it. I can't remember, but sort of just an update email that
Good
went
thing
to
they're
everybody,
losing.
right?
True.
So it kept everybody in the loop, even on issues that maybe they didn't care about, right? But it was a general update, so they felt like they were part of what we were doing, right? That we would bring them in when it was their issue and thing they cared about, but also that they just had an open door to us and to the coalition's folks in the White House, and sort of had the like they were in the know,
Yeah.
And so we were always doing that and making sure that they felt like they were part of the team. That's really important. And you can do that from the White House, from an agency, from wherever you sit, just making sure people feel like they're in the loop. They will, they'll appreciate that so much and be much more receptive in the future when you need them.
Wait, Cosmic Quibble, are you doing a bit? Are you doing a bit? Or are you somehow like a Trump supporter that like genuinely just tunes in and watches my content sometimes?
That's a great point, because I think we won't name any names. Maybe some people in the White House were very good at telling folks what to do,
Right.
On the outside. We need you to do this, need you to do that, and very little kind of inbound stuff.
Yeah.
What do you think we should do? What's your opinion on this? So Sarah's making a great point. So if you could do
Just American? Oh, okay. So you're a dipshit. Gotcha.
some of that, especially in advance of the actual need. And they'll appreciate not only you meeting with them, but then saying, we're thinking of rolling out this initiative. What do you think? How should we roll it out? How would you frame it? Could you participate? Could you amplify it? Have specific questions and ask and get feedback, makes people feel involved, and frankly, gives you great ideas. A lot of times these ideas, like you said, inbound, we feed them into either the policy shop, communication shop, other places throughout the administration, throughout the White House, and it becomes what the White House or the administration does. So great ideas.
I think, again, it's important to remember that you are a reflection of the administration and of the president in everything you do, everything you say, everything.
Michael DeZingle, please refrain from making weird sexualizing comments about people in videos we're watching. Makes me uncomfortable.
You write. Never put anything in an email that you wouldn't want to see on the front page of the Wall Street Journal or the Washington Post, right? Be genuine and humble in your words and your actions.
Whooshes fascistically. Meet with coalition partners before a policy rollout and ask good questions. What do you think about this? How would you frame it? Are you willing to participate? Are you willing to amplify? Soliciting feedback makes people feel involved, and in that process, you acquire great ideas. Remember, you are a reflection of the administration and of the president in everything you do, everything you say, and everything you write, motherfucker. Whoa, got aggressive.
There are opportunities sometimes to make some of these people feel really unique and special, and whether that's they're getting married and you get a correspondence letter from the president to them just to wish them best of luck, or they have a child and you get a letter like that. And you want to be, you want to pick and choose when you do that and use that sparingly but appropriately, right? Those are really great ways to make people feel like they are part of the team.
Yeah, fantastic point. That your interaction with folks doesn't always have to be so serious,
right,
policy heavy, that kind of thing. Some of that should be, obviously. But yeah,
sometimes you can go bowling or do some laser tag while you discuss how, the government can do them favors and they can do the government favors. Government politicians. Ha, cool.
You just got married, or you just had, I don't know, just something about the person's personal life. They just went on a great beach vacation. You check in with them after. How was the beach? Right. You're just building a connection. You're building a warmth. You're building a trust that you could then call on later for the more serious action items, things along those lines.
I think that this goes back to what I said earlier about being on 24/7, but Paul was incredible at giving people his cell phone number.
Only sparingly congratulate your friends, TM, on their personal milestones. Make sure you understand when your friends, TM, are about to leave on a vacation that they might be looking forward to, and be sure to check in when they return, because they are your friend, TM.
I was always a little bit more hesitant about that, maybe, but they always knew how to get a hold of us, right? And any hour of the day could call, text, email us, whatever it was. And even if they never used that, again, it just made them feel like they were part of the team. And it's amazing what you can accomplish when you have people who are bought in like that. And so, being thoughtful about how you share your contact and with whom, and how you encourage them to call you or reach out to you when they need you, or when they want to engage.
I think what we
reminder to score as many quid points, TM, with your friends, TM. Quid points, TM, can be exchanged for goods or services with your friends, TM.
What we found too is mix and match how you interact with someone. I'll leave the name out, but I can think of a well-known activist who once told me that.
Here's a silly little cleanse of people being silly about feathers and steel. It's a bit, but a well-made one. KEKW.
Well, Fenry, thank you for the $5 dono. We'll check it out after this video is done.
He noticed I only invited him to a certain type of roundtable on a certain kind of issue. And he was right. And I was like, you know what? My apologies. You're right. That I've kind of, he fell into a little bucket with me.
Yeah.
And so I had to be mindful. Oh, no, we should also do a one-on-one lunch or a press event, not just a private off-the-record roundtable or other type things. So think about that too, how you can almost have a menu of options of things that you could offer different people at different times, and make sure you're ordering off different parts of the menu, throughout different parts of the year, that kind of thing. And by the way, for everyone, watching today, you shouldn't feel embarrassed at all to either check with us or others who have done this before, right? I mean, this is, as you could tell, more of an art than a science, right? And there'll be tools and issues and techniques that might be different either for your personality, for the administration, wherever you're exactly working. But yet there's also a lot of common threads and similarities. Happy to walk them through you and, seek out mentors, especially if you haven't done this before. But even if you had, but this is the first time in an administration, first time in a White House, ask folks, for updated best practices, or what do you think of this, or how should I do that?
It's like watching, unironically, to me, this sensation feels similar to like watching like a creature in a film that has taken on the skin of a person, like a skin changing type creature. Because I don't think he means any of the way he's like smiling or adding inflection to his voice. I think this is all very coldly calculated. Like it's not cute or charming. It's just like a weaponized warmth, and I find it repulsive. I don't like that kind of affect.
I
think in order to accomplish that successfully too, you need a partner or a team to do this, right? No one person can be a perfectly successful coalitions director or coalitions person who does everything. It's impossible. There's too many coalitions.
It's the same energy as watching a corporate training video. Yeah, except that it's corporate training for how to do like government corruption and also like dismantle the government.
There's too many people. You could still do that 24/7, 7 days a week that I encouraged you to do and still never get it all done. So I know that when I was in the office of the vice president, I had a deputy who was, ridiculous that she was called a deputy because she was better than me and everything, right? But her relationships were different than mine. And so
right of center, left. Exactly. All I can take away from this is the people they want to put in power have poor social skills. 10,000%. All of these videos are geared towards like the lowest common denominator. Like there are literally entire training videos begging like applicants to this program to not be racist on Twitter. Like on God. Like if you watch through this training, the training videos that we've gone through, like it's crazy how like basic they have to make their like advice to the people that they're gunning to appoint into the highest levels of power in our government.
Tag teamed it, and because of that I think we were successful. So if you have the opportunity to talk to your boss and say, I could really use a partner in this, a deputy or a second person or an intern or whatever it might be. I utilized our White House interns all the time to help me make lists, keep lists.
Are you calling people with low social skill the lowest common denominator? I'm calling people with no skill whatsoever in any area of their lives the lowest common denominator. Like I'm sorry, but if you need a training video telling you not to be racist on Twitter, maybe you shouldn't be in a government job that is capable of like gutting like all legislation. Maybe you shouldn't be put into a position of power. Like I sorry. Like maybe if you need a training video to tell you like, I don't know, hey, don't do whatever Donald Trump says. That's your main job. Like, yeah. There's no crime in being bad at socializing. Like, that's not bad. That's not evil. But, like, they're trying to appoint evil people who are also completely incompetent dipshits. You know?
One of them is still, you know, like he's better known in some circles now than I am. In military, you know, spouse circles, right? He's the guy people still go to. So you just remember that you need help too, and not any one person can do all of it.
Yeah, and great point to emphasize is, you know, play to your strengths, right? If there's something you're already good at or known for or have great connections with, lean into that, right? Don't feel like you have to just do things that are totally, you know, out of your wheelhouse. Going back to Rudy Olivo, my deputy when I was in the vice president's office, his family's from the Dominican Republic. He knew Spanish.
Right.
If they're appointing people to these positions, shouldn't they know the common etiquette? Yeah, except that's under normal circumstances. Keep in mind that Project 2025 is deliberately recruiting MAGA loyalists, like the most rabid of Donald Trump's supporters. They're being courted and put into Project 2025 to then be appointed. They're like, the Project 2025 is to have a ready list of just sycophantic yes men that they can then slot into power. Like, and they have no standards, which is why they have to have these training videos, right? Under normal circumstances, you just appoint someone who is qualified for the job. You don't just take anyone who applies through a program and then slot them into positions of power based on their loyalty to the incoming president. You know, like that's what makes this insidious. You know, they're trying to recruit people who are just completely and utterly indoctrinated. That's the number one quality that they're recruiting for.
Should connect with, you know,
Right.
Hispanic
Hispanics.
coalitions. Why should I do that when you have someone right there
Right.
who knows Spanish? So play to your strengths and go from there. It doesn't mean you shouldn't get out of your comfort zone as well, but also play, you know, to those strengths, those pre-existing relationships, pre-existing contacts, and just like who you are, you know,
Yeah.
as a person, that kind of thing. Okay, so actually let's talk about what happens when maybe a relationship gets a little rocky, right? We've all had that. Someone is maybe not thrilled with either the administration, us personally, maybe.
Boy, howdy, am I familiar with that specific aspect right at this very moment. Boy, howdy, you have finally arrived at a point that is applicable to me. I am so excited. What happens now?
Even a fellow coalition partner, whatever it is, the person is not
There's
thrilled
some
with something. There's some damage,
Right.
You know, best practice for
Here's how to
smoothing
break
that
up
over.
with your
What do you
friends,
think? Or
TM.
what have you done?
Yeah, I mean, honest adult conversations.
What happens when you've run out of quid coins? TM.
Are really important, you know, to call them in and to give them the time to voice their concern, right? Whether it's with you personally or with the administration.
No, that's right. Dealing with it immediately, right?
Yeah.
Listening, like going back to
Right.
an earlier point, right?
Yep.
2 ears, 1 mouth. So listening more. There may be opportunities to pivot and say, I understand you're not happy with this policy, but can I also show you what we're doing on this policy? Or by the way, let me give you a little insider scoop on this thing we're rolling out next week. I'm going to give you an early heads up.
So you can do some insider trading. There we go. Some secret government info just for you so you can sell your stocks.
Hopefully there's make goods that you could that you could do to make the person still feel heard, involved. Yes, you are listening to that person's perspective and taking advantage. Sometimes it's even just, hey, like you said, let's sit down and hash it out. How about over lunch at the White House mess or at some other fancy cafeteria in some agency building?
Or some other fancy restaurant.
Use the tools that you have available to smooth it over, and offer real solutions. I mean, it's good to nod. Obviously, if you're watching this video, you've seen I'm a nodder, right? I sit here and nod. It's just, I can't help it. But nod and then say, and here's what I'm hearing, and here's what I'm going to do for you, and here's what we can do together in the future, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's kind of a, good best practice, which in a way is not all that different from human relations outside of, this arena, outside of work.
Yes, indeed. We are very interested in human relations, TM, outside of work. Also known as friends, TM.
Right, pretty similar kind of stuff.
Just a reminder again that you are a representation of the president and of the team. So,
absolutely.
Sometimes it's going to be on your shoulders to kind of take the heat, so that, the president isn't the one who has to take it. That's part.
But what heat would you need to take? I thought these were relationships between friends. What kind of heat would you be taking if they're your friends? Unless there's some kind of, I don't know, give and take, a quid pro quo, if you will.
Part of what you're signing up for.
Yeah. No, that's right. Sometimes just absorbing it and apologizing even, right?
Sometimes our donors are going to yell at you and you're just going to take it. You're just going to take it.
I'm so sorry. You are right. I should have roped you into that because that's a common thing as a coalitions person. Get ready for that, right? Yep. Sarah knows better than anybody. Someone will call you up, someone very important.
Right.
Why wasn't I invited to that? Why did so-and-so get invited
and
when
I
such
didn't.
And such wasn't and I wasn't? Yes. So there will be those moments. And again, a lot of times it's just, sometimes there is a legitimate explanation.
This heritage group is off the rails. No, it's exactly on the rails. This is the entire point it exists for. Like, the Heritage Foundation and Project 2025 are like the brainchild of billionaires. Heritage Foundation was literally founded by like fracking billionaire money. Like these are this is a group that is created by rich people to do things for rich people by basically paying off the US government. Like that is essentially what the think tanks and lobbying groups do. Implying that it's off the rails, saying it's off the rails implies that they're not doing exactly what they are intended to do here. This is not a flaw in its function. This is just its function. It's the club you're not in. Yeah.
We only had 5 slots. We had to fill it with people who had not been in recently. You had been in recently, Mr. So-and-so. So sometimes there's legitimate reason, sometimes there's just kind of not, and you just have to take it. I'm so sorry, we'll get you in for the next thing. Let's grab
the funny thing about Trump is he's listening to no one. This is literally a plan designed for him to use that he is aware of. It's why he picked J.D. Vance as his running mate. J.D. Vance is aware of this plan. J.D. Vance literally wrote the foreword to the Heritage Foundation president's book. He is there at the behest of a billionaire, Peter Thiel, who is also involved in the massive conglomeration of think tanks that all came together. Like, you can think of Project 2025 as the brainchild of a Voltron of conservative think tanks that were assembled specifically for this. This is the apotheosis of everything that they have ever wanted to do. As conservatives, as lobbyists, etc. This is Donald Trump's project. This is his thing. That's why when the Heritage Foundation president got caught on a hidden camera talking about it, he said, I'm not worried about Donald Trump distancing himself from us. At the end of the day, he'll implement this plan. because it was made for him. Like, this is not an accident. Donald Trump is going to take this. Do you think it's... I'm just going to put it out there. I've watched all of these videos. Almost every single one of these, out of this 14 hours of training video, almost every single one of them features 1, 2, or even 4, anywhere from 1 to 4 people who formerly worked in Donald Trump's administration, because they are all there making the plan for him. Like, this isn't difficult. This isn't like, oh, well, this is just a plan that exists. A bunch of billionaires just threw their money into these groups and they have a plan and it's never going to be implemented. Haha. They're recruiting thousands of people to be appointed day one of the Trump administration, but it's not going to be implemented. Haha. No, this is going to be put into place as soon as Trump takes power. That's the entire premise of this project. That is the entire reason it exists. It is Donald Trump's plan. And that's not even talking about the policy goals of Project 2025. That's just talking about its function. And the function is to deregulate everything, to put as much power as possible into the hands of Donald Trump. That's it. Full stop. This is not like good thing Donald Trump won't listen to him because he's uncontrollable. No, that he is specific. This plan is specifically there for him to then control everything.
Lunch, whatever the make good is. But yeah, you're right. Sometimes you just have to absorb it on behalf of the president and vice president. And, So let's see. So maybe time to wrap up. Any closing thoughts for these, again, kind folks who've watched today and hopefully jumping into the coalition world?
Isn't Trump's plan that he's incapable of planning? Yeah, but that's the thing, right? One of the things that Donald Trump hates most in all the world is, despite not having a plan, he wants to be able to say, do this thing and have that thing done, right? He wants to be able to tell people what to do and then have them do it. The issue is that's not how being a president works. That's not how being a president works. Instead, how being a president works means that everyone below you has rules and regulations that they have to follow. They have to do things in certain ways. It has to be, there's a lot of governmental bureaucratic red tape. And Trump was told no so many times by administration officials and political appointees, and the number one thing he hates is being told no. Okay? That's the number one thing he hates. This plan makes it so that there is no one to tell him no. That's as simple as it needs to be for him to be completely and utterly on board with it.
Call us. Let us know how we can help you and support you. It's an incredible job. You're going to have some of the best moments of your life in this job and things you'll never forget. I can't believe I'm going to give this advice because I didn't take it when somebody gave it to me, but keep a journal. Journal the things that you do and the people you meet. Take pictures when you can and when it's appropriate. It's not always appropriate. Yep. But just try to remember those things, because one day you'll look back on it and be like, wow, remember that time I met so-and-so and got to do X, Y, and Z, and just enjoy the time that you do it. And again, do it with humility.
Yeah, fantastic advice, as always.
And you also have a legal paper trail.
And yeah, I would just say, just realize that coalitions allows you to touch just about every area of wherever you're working. Again, if it's the White House, if it's a certain administrative agency, department, whatever it is, don't be shy to say, well, that's policy, I won't talk to the policy people, or that's communications, they know what they're doing. It's not to say they don't know what they're doing, but coalitions strengthens everybody else's work. And so, you should also be doing some internal kind of networking and partnerships so that you can not only amplify their work, they can amplify what you're doing, you can work together, because sometimes you may be bringing in coalition partners to come to a media event, as you talked about, or maybe it's a policy roundtable, or just other, maybe it's to discuss a legal action that's about to be taken, some sort of lawsuit, whatever it is. You'll want to make sure that you're partnering internally with the correct people, and you have every right to, because there will be some folks, and Sarah knows what I'm talking about, who will try to put coalitions in this little box. Right over, you're a coalitions person, you just stay over here. No, you absolutely should be connecting with everything and everybody throughout the agency or department you're working in.
And if they're smart, they'll include you because, again, I mean, these are the people that voted for the president and are going to be the reason that they are reelected. And
it's really weird phrasing to say that, well, these are the people who voted for the president, but like, that's like any Republican. Not like, and I get the feeling that this is not a video about getting Joe Schmo, the Republican from, Alabama, to like, you're not calling and consulting him. You're calling and consulting like billionaires, think tank members, you're calling influential people for favors.
So if they're smart, they'll know to include coalitions.
Right, no, exactly. And obviously we don't want to butt in needlessly. There are some considered private. But in general, I'm just saying, just know that what you're hopefully about to undertake is a very broad job with broad reach and very meaningful, because you could really advance the issues, the cause of the administration in such a meaningful, tangible way.
Thank you all for taking the time to listen to us today. I hope that it was beneficial and that you learned a lot. We both...
Oh, I think we certainly learned, well, maybe not a lot, but our eyes are certainly opened a bit more now.
Look forward to all that you're going to accomplish and succeed
in your
roles. And, just remember that we're here to support you.
Yeah, please be in touch. Happy to help.
If the next...
There we go. We did it. We made it through to the end. Project 2025. Fully trained. You guys are now fully certified, according to the Donald Trump plan, to gut the US government, destroy all the regulation, and be foot soldiers in the fascist takeover of America. There you go. You're all qualified. Make sure you tell everyone about it, because I think as many people as possible should know that this is exactly the intent behind Donald Trump's administration. We did it. I'm so proud of all of you. At last, a qualification to put on my resume. Oh, God.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
We did it, folks. We did it. Do I get a certificate? No, you get a feeling of a job well done. There we go. We did it. Can we overthrow democracy now? No, you have to wait until after the election, guys. Also, we're not overthrowing democracy. FBI, we're not doing that. It's jokes. The people you want were in the training videos we just watched.